Alright, here is a direct comparison from one of our inspections versus another inspector or inspection company in this area on the same exact house. These inspections were done one day apart from each other. The client actually decided to hire two home inspection companies to cover their basis and make sure everything was documented. I wanted to show you the difference between what we do and what other companies do, because often we have clients that will call and complain about our price, or they'll choose to go with a different home inspection company because we won't price match that company. There was a reason why, and it's because we offer a better service. We perform a more thorough inspection with knowledge and training that exceeds almost every other home inspector in this area. So this is a sample report. Now please note we've removed all of the information from the home inspection company that did this, as well as the client, just for protection and privacy for them. So this is their title page, and this is their inspection summary. They note a few defects, 4 it looks like they've noted, and this is a brand new house, by the way. It was just constructed. Then they note some other issues down here needing repair and maintenance. Significant defects, okay, I'm sorry, so they actually have 8, and then looks like continued on page 11, so they might have more than what I had originally said. So okay, 4 there, 8, and we'll find out on page 11 exactly how many. Then they offer some fluff about home maintenance guide and checklist, and this is still just the summary. So this is actually their report starting here on the 4th page. And keep in mind, this is a 17-page document. So here's just some general commentary on the types of construction and materials used. We call those styles and materials in our reports. And here you can see under roof they have a comment about water pooling on the front flat roofs, and then a flat area in the yard that they noted, which could be a grading issue. They noted some warped areas on the front door, and then they noted that the framing for the deck was typical. They noted here on water supply piping that there was a main shutoff not close to where the pipe comes into the basement, and then they noticed some water flow issues in the house, and then a thumping noise or a ticking noise when water was run, as well as some sealant needed on the ejector pump. Actually, they called it a sump pump for the waste ejector pumps. It's actually a ejector pump cover there. They noted some thermostats were difficult to use, and they also put some fluff in here telling you how much or what type of filter to buy and around how much it'll cost. I never understand why home inspectors put that stuff in a report. That's not why we're there. And to replace other filters. They had some notes that you should be careful about landscaping around the house because it could damage cables, and some notes about recommending an upgrade for a GFCI to have an audible alarm. And they also noted that the garbage disposal was a lower quality one for the high-end kitchen at this home, and so they made a personal opinion saying that it should be upgraded, basically, because it's not one of the expensive ones. You have to be careful about that. They noted some gaps in the wood flooring, and then some cosmetic issues on the pantry. They noted that the gas fireplace was operable, and that there was a door latch issue, and multiple screens were not installed and some were damaged. They noted some of the attic was not visible. Okay, and then summary continued, page 11, so we go down to 12. So they have 12 defects or concerns, and then some things to monitor and some recommendations. And then they include some pictures here in correspondence with their findings. In the summary, here's the area of the flat roof that is ponding water. They said it's 2 inches. That's not 2 inches. Some gaps in the flooring. And then this is just a fluff picture. It's just a reference picture. And here they're pointing out that the main shutoff valve is down here and that they recommend something closer to the wall. That's it. That is their report. So pretty anemic, and honestly a lot of the findings were not important or cosmetic or opinion based, and the client paid $950 for that inspection. Now this is our report from the same property the day after this inspector came in. Now we charged $1,200 for this inspection, so $250 more, but this is the difference. This is what you'll receive. The first few pages is just intro and some information on how to interpret the report. So first thing to note is our report is 82 pages long, where theirs is 17. And I'm not going to go over every single issue here because this video would be extremely long. But let's just scroll through, and I'll stop at some of the more significant ones that the competing company missed. Okay, here's one. The siding on this house was done completely wrong. This house has James Hardy fiber cement board lap siding, and they did what's called mitered corners here, and that's actually not allowed on this product. This is an example of where knowledge and training and experience comes in with why we charge what we charge. The manufacturer specifically requires trim board to be installed on outside corners and prohibits mitered corners from being installed. So this was around the entire house, and this will not be warranted for any water leaks or damage inside behind these corners. That's a huge problem. It's going to take a lot to fix. Here's some damage to the siding that was not on the last home inspector's report. Here's another one that I'm surprised the competing company didn't get. This is clearly siding that was repaired poorly on the back of the house. Not only did they rough cut a couple of small sections out when they should have done the whole length, but this is really bad here where they have two seams lining on top of each other. Water will leak into that. That is not okay. Another issue with a lack of understanding how this siding needs to be installed is the clearances are wrong on the deck. The other inspection company didn't note that. They also have clearance issues on the roof. The other inspection company didn't note that. They missed some of their flashing on the seams on a couple locations on the front of the house. Right here, it's hard to see, but they have, this is framing. This is exposed wood here. Now, water should not get here, but an extremely angled rain could get that area wet and start to rot that framing. But you should never see exposed framing on the outside of a house unless it's on a deck and it's pressure treated wood. Here's some clearance issues per the installation instructions that's also wrong, and then they had some loose siding on the back. These vents were taped closed. The other home inspection company missed that. Their masonry veneer was installed incorrectly. It's touching the soil, which it shouldn't do, but more importantly, they're missing the flashing between the transition at the foundation wall and the framing. So if you notice here, our foundation wall stops about an inch above this siding, but the stone veneer continues up on top of the framing. When they do this, they're supposed to have flashing here, and there's the detail explained right here. This was not done properly. This was not called out on the other inspection. Missing flashing on the deck. Here's some cosmetic issues. I'm going to just skip over that. They're missing sealant on flashing. Some of the framing on the front of the garage was not plumb. It was slightly out of plumb. Nothing major to be worried about there, but something to note. Here's some damage on the standing seam metal roof. Alright, the other inspection company, they noted that the roof was ponding water. And here's the picture, and sure, there's a little bit of ponding water here. However, that is typical with a flat roof, and if it dries up within 4 to 8 hours, it's considered normal. I did this inspection the day after this picture was taken, and there was no water the morning of my inspection on this roof. So in my opinion, there was nothing wrong with it. Now what they failed to note on this roof is a significant issue where the roof covering was actually ripping up off of the roof, providing this large gap, this large opening where water can get in and leak. So they called out ponding water, which is not a concern in this roof because it was not that much water and it dried up quickly, but failed to comment on the giant hole in the roof. Here's another issue with the siding. The gutters are touching it, which is incorrect. Not allowed by the manufacturer. Subpar flashing here. Here they're using continuous flashing instead of step flashing like you see down here. That's incorrect. Here they're missing apron flashing on their metal standing seam roofs. More flashing issues. On the garage, we tested the door for the safety reverse mechanism or safety feature, and it failed. It did not reverse itself after closing on an object that was 1.5 inches tall. That's a big safety issue if that ever came down on a child. This company failed to even test that. Here's another one that just demonstrates the difference between our company and competitors. You have to have an understanding and training in the building code and the requirements of that. This shows a lack of knowledge with this company. And what that is they have a commercial grade exhaust fan or exhaust hood in this kitchen. When you have something that's capable of CFMs in excess of 600, you have to provide makeup air to this house. This house had no makeup air provided, no system for turning on or activating makeup air. And you'll notice when we pulled the covers off the exhaust fan, the CFM on high setting is capable of almost 1200. So they were missing that on this brand new house. Dishwasher high loop not installed correctly. Disposer in the debris in the disposer. Some supports missing on the pantry shelves. Some more cosmetic issues that they didn't include. Here's flooring gaps, which they did call out. The door issue, which they did call out. They did not mention that the locks on the sliding doors don't lock properly. Same with this side sliding door won't open properly. Screen issues, window issue, missing insulation in the attic here. Here's another issue or concern that they're probably not even aware of. In 2021, the building code, the 2018 VRC was adopted for the state of Virginia. We used to state that attics needed R38, which has been the case for quite a while now. Well, as of 2021, with the new building code, the attic insulation needs to be R49. They do not have R49 in this attic. And so this company is probably even completely unaware that the code has changed. We found all kinds of cosmetic issues with the counters being scratched. There's the cabinet cosmetic issues, which the other company did find. Some minor electrical concerns, nothing huge there, but still some important things. They didn't have a light on the deck stairway as required by most deck codes, which is interesting that this was not called out on the other inspection report. It's a safety issue. When you have deck stairs like this, you have to have a light capable of illuminating the top and all of the stairs. The doorbell, when rung, did not activate the chime inside. They're using extension cord wiring for the garage door opener. Missing condensate line on the water heater. They had the temperature, they didn't have their tempering devices adjusted correctly on all the showers and bathtubs, Some of the temperatures measured were in excess of 130 degrees. That's a scald hazard for anyone that gets in that shower. If a kid turned this shower on to hot and stepped in without checking, they would burn themselves pretty badly at 134 degrees. That was not mentioned on the other report. The HVAC system was used during construction and has dust all over it. That means it needs to be thoroughly cleaned per the manufacturer's installation instructions. Here's a damper control arm that you can't even turn. This handle has to be turned down 90 degrees to be closed. And if anyone would look, you can't do that with the way that they just made a tiny little notch in the wood. This was not identified on the other inspection report. Foundation wall had a couple little cracks, nothing major, but worth noting, and that was not on the other inspection report. Some of the engineered eye joists were drilled through the top cord. That's not allowed. These are engineered products. You cannot drill through the top and bottom cords. You can't notch or damage them at all. This was not noted on the other inspection report. For the gas flue with the type B vent, well, type A here and then transitions to type B, you need to maintain clearances to combustibles, but also to materials that might melt. They have plastic all around this flue in the attic, which that could melt. And then they have a slightly negative pitch here. Those are issues that need to be fixed. Incorrectly installed ductwork, and that's it. And then we go to our summary. That's all the minors, and then the majors. And then here's our FYI for some helpful tips. Alright, so there you have it, folks. I just counted it up, and this report, our report, had over 80 items documented as deficient or a problem. So 80 items documented, where this report had 12. And some of them I don't agree with. Now, let's do some math. They charged $950 and they found 12 issues. That works out to about $80 an issue, and some of them are not that big of a deal. We charged $1,200 and we found over 80, but we'll just say 80 problems. That works out to $15 a documented problem in your report. So we charged on this inspection about $15 per deficiency. They charged about $80 per deficiency, and they missed almost all of these major concerns, if not all of them. They actually did miss all of them. None of these were in their report, and they missed a significant amount of all these other concerns here. Keep in mind, this is a PDF version of our report. We actually send out HTML versions, which are much easier to navigate and much better. I'm just doing a PDF so I can compare it side by side with the other company. But this just goes to show the difference between our company and a competing company, and why we charge more, and why we stick to our guns when we charge more. Because our inspectors work harder, they work on your report longer, they do research, and they will provide a better inspection and a better product. So hopefully this is enough to show the difference between our company and other companies. Keep in mind, this company claims that they have over 36,000 inspections under their belt, and they have good ratings on Google. They have a 5-star rating, or almost a 5-star rating. So you can't go based on reviews alone. You can't go based on the number of inspections someone has done. You have to really dig in and compare the quality between the different inspection companies, their reports, their sample reports, the training they get, and their look at all of their reviews. Let us know if you have any questions. We're excited to work with you, and go ahead and click book that inspection on our website.